let me share my screen. Yeah, this is new to me.
Yeah.
And Daphne, will you upload it on the YouTube, right? Because you
Yes.
have, okay.
Yes. I'll share the link to the video when it's ready.
Moment, yeah. I need to enable the setting.
Oh, I might have to let
Yeah, I think you can
you.
stop first. I need to rejoin actually.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah, but I probably need to hide something. Yeah. We cannot hide this box, right? Yeah, I think that's fine. All right. So yeah, welcome back. So before I start this session, do you guys have any question regarding to HTML, CSS, JavaScript, TypeScript? So if you have, you can always paste your question into the chat, then I'll look at it later. Okay. So yeah, how's the homework going? So do you face any difficulty doing the homework? Yeah. So if no, then we shall start. All right. So after three to 4 weeks, then we are finally here. Right. So yeah, we're going to start with this Angular. I think this is the one everyone is anticipating. All right. So in today's agenda, I'm going to talk about the Angular because Angular is is starting since 2010. Yeah, it's almost 10 years here. So yeah, I need to roughly tell you about the history. And when people ask you, are you using Angular JS or are you using Angular? At least you know how to tell people, right? So and also the choice of editor. There are so many editor, and which one should you use, and what is your preference? Yeah, we will talk about this here. And the TypeScript in Angular. I think I told you before, TypeScript is the basic fundamentals for Angular. All right, and the npm. So I show you something last week, yeah, regarding the node package manager, but I didn't show you in details. But in this session, I tell you what are there, how do you use it, and how can we manage our packages in using npm, right? And of course, to set up to run the Angular, we need to have an Angular CLI. I'm going to tell you here. And yeah, I'm going to demo to you how to set up a Angular application, then how to start with Angular development, right? So this,
Uh,
yes, and
yeah, I have a question. What is the difference between Angular JS and Angular?
uh, I'll tell later. Yeah, this
Okay.
is to the agenda. Yeah, I'll give you some history, the background about Angular. All right. So before I start this course, so I assume you guys already very familiar with HTML, CSS. If you're not really familiar with HTML, CSS, at least you need to know the fundamental, right? And also same to go to JavaScript and TypeScript. So you wouldn't see a lot of JavaScript here, but you'll see a lot of TypeScript here. JavaScript and TypeScript are almost the same because TypeScript is built on top of JavaScript, and TypeScript is giving the strong type to the JavaScript. So they both, I can say, are equivalent the same. So yeah, so at least you need to know that before you start Angular development. All right. So yeah, welcome. Let us start with the introduction to Angular. So what is Angular? Angular is basically a JavaScript framework, and for building a client-side application. So normally if you build Angular, so this application will be running in the browser and will be run in the client side. That means it will run in the client, the user laptop browser. So the file will be transferred to the client browser, and the browser will run this application, all right, by using the HTML, CSS, and TypeScript. Okay, simple, right? Okay, so in another word, it is a single page application. So maybe this term might be confusing to you. Let me show you something. Okay, how to decide what is single page application and a normal application, web application. Okay, let me open up some page here to show you. This thing is quite annoying. Can I move this? Okay. All right, cool. That's better. Okay. Maybe. Let me think of a page. It'll show you a conventional website. Do you guys have any idea?
You can have example of OLX.
Or else, what is this?
OLX.pk. No, you can just take Amazon.
Amazon. Okay, let's try. Okay. Yep, you're right. So this is a normal application. All right, let me tell you what is the difference. Okay, in last time when we are trying to build an application, so we're going to build a lot of pages. For example, the main page. All right, if you see here, this Amazon page, there'll be a header, a menu, and the content. Whenever we click on the link here, it will redirect to another page. The another page, right, will have the same thing, header, menu, and the content. So if you were to add another menu on the very right, so you need to browse through every single page to add the menu. All right, this is how it works. So if you click on one page, right, they'll go to the server to get the relevant file and send it to the browser, and the browser will display it. So from time to time, you'll see this, the URL will change. Okay, so this will be the conventional web application. And it'll be quite troublesome because if you want to add something, you have to change every single page. And yeah, and of course, Amazon have their own method to do it. But if you were to write an application, I doubt you will try to prevent this way to develop a web application until I think the year of 2007, around that. Google come up with a very brilliant solution. They experiment it in this Gmail. So what Gmail does is that they'll only load one page, which is the index.html, and they'll use JavaScript to render the content. Okay, so if you click on every, for example, a draft, so you won't see the screen is flickering. Okay, because JavaScript is rendering the component only, so it's not the whole page. If you look at the URL here, it doesn't show you the .html extension. Okay, yeah, I think of another page to show you. Me website.
I have a question.
Yep. Yeah, yes, you can ask. Hello? Hello? Still there?
Maza, you're muted. We can't hear you.
Yeah, we can't hear.
Yeah, my question is, in the Amazon website, we can see that there is one page only, index.html. Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Are you able to hear me?
Sorry, again?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear.
Yeah, I want to say that the amazing in the Amazon website, there is only one page, that is index.html, and when we just go through the other links, it will not automatically refresh. You can see in the URL, the page is not refreshing. It means that it is a single page application, and there is one HTML, index.html, and there are routes and there are links to be displayed on such links, which can route to other page. It means that there is one page overall, and it can handle by different links and routes, and we were not able to refresh it. You can see in the URL.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, probably Amazon is not a good example because it is well established. But yeah, this one. Okay, you know about me, right? Me is quite famous. Yeah, forgive me about the Chinese character, but I just want to show you the page. Right. So you see the index.html here. If I click to another page, they'll redirect to another page and show you another URL. And this will be the conventional one. And yeah, I think this one is already converted to a single page application. But if you look at here, right, what they do is when you click on the link, they'll redirect you to another HTML file. Okay, this is a conventional web application, and you have to keep developing the HTML file from time to time if you want it. And yeah, but if you come to Gmail, everything will be sitting under the index.html, and it'll help you to manage the route, manage the page, and you're just building the component. And then you won't see the flickering from time to time after you click on the page. See, there's no flickering. So this is the modern single page application. All right. So yeah, this is it. Okay. So yeah, what is AngularJS and Angular? So when they start developing the Angular, they actually call it AngularJS. The reason why, because when the first version AngularJS is launched, it is written using a JavaScript. There's no TypeScript at the time. Okay, so everything is MVC model is a model view controller, and you'll see a lot of controller in the AngularJS, which is the version 1. And after 5 years of the development, okay, until the years of 2005, okay, if I'm not mistaken, and they rewrite the whole Angular JS to convert it into the TypeScript. So from version 2 onwards, right, they call it Angular only. So Angular JS is referring to the JavaScript version of Angular, which is the version 1, and the Angular is referring to the version 2 and above. Okay, so an Angular is actually a component base. That means you are focusing building the component instead of building MVC, model view controller. All right. So some history about Angular. So Google started the Angular project uh, at the year of 2010, and they named it AngularJS. Okay, and 2016 they rewrite the whole Angular and to use a TypeScript and change the architecture as well as a component base, and starting from 2016. And you'll see from Angular 2, they'll straight away go to Angular 4. I tell the reason why there's no Angular 3. And they release almost half a year to have one major release. The reason why they have a major release every half a year is that they are trying to release a new feature from time to time, try to speed up the process to release a new feature, because people are eager to see new feature on their apps. At the same time, it creates some worry to the developer. For example, if I start my project at the year of 2018, probably I start with Angular 6. So at the time, you might think, okay, if Google going to release a new version every half a year, then how am I going to keep up with the pace of the update? And yeah, Google handle it very well. And they have a tools called Angular CLI. It's a command line interface. And there's a one feature called ng update. You can use that command to upgrade your Angular version to the latest one. Yeah. So from there, you can upgrade your program from time to time. All right. So yeah, that's one I will show you in the later section, not this one. All right. So yeah, and why there's no Angular 3? If you look at the history, they started Angular 2 at the year of 2016, but there's a mismatch of another packages called the Angular router. If you look at the other version of the packages, it is 2.3. But if you look at Angular router, it shows you 3.3. So in order to standardize all the versioning, so they skip the version 3 and go straight to the version 4. That's why there's no Angular version 3. Okay. And yeah, I think I will, okay, before I go to the anatomy of Angular application, let me see the question. How do I go back? I think here.
Go to chat.
Chat. Yeah, here. Okay.
No questions so far.
No questions so far. Right. Cool. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's go to the next. Okay. Let me brief you about the anatomy of an Angular application. All right. They're supposed to have some animation, but yeah, I don't have time to do it. So, okay. So if you were to build an Angular application, if you look at the red box, okay, one application actually is equivalent to many components because Angular application is focused building the component. Yeah. So if you start developing Angular, you develop a lots of components. So in order for component to communicate with another component, we need services. That's why we have a blue box at the bottom. It help the component to communicate with each other. And yeah, this is basically the Angular application anatomy. Okay, let's dig further. Let's go further.
I
All
have a
right.
question.
Yep.
Why are not we preferring React JS over Angular? Because React has so many advantages other than the Angular framework. And
Uh,
although React is a library and Angular is a framework.
yeah, I understand your concern. But first of all, I don't want to confuse the audience. All right, I know React is another good library as well, but maybe we can do it at the end of the section, right? And this is Angular study group. Yeah, and of course, we are not trying to like compare Angular and React. And I know React got a lot of advantages and same go to Angular. It's really up to your preference to choose which one is React, which one is to choose what which framework to use. I wouldn't stop you, like don't use React, try to use Angular. And of course, there are lots of advantages using Angular as well. Yeah, for now, I will just focus on Angular first mainly because this is the Angular study group. Yeah,
Uh,
and we can always
If
use
I
try.
must, sorry to
Uh,
interrupt, I would clarify for Mazam. Uh, we started this to start with Angular as we are already working, as I told you, we have a parallel .NET Core study group also with almost the same members. React, there are a lot of things. If I go on that, what is more better? There are, I would say, hundreds of technologies, and we can do this rather than that, and blah blah. But this is what the majority in the group decided they want to learn and start with. Maybe once we are done with Angular and everyone still wants to learn, we will further in future start with the React one. But right now it's going to be Angular.
Yeah, sure.
Uh,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, if you were to compare the framework, right, there will be a lots of argument within this framework. Yeah, Vue.js, Angular, React, and some will say like Vanilla.js. I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, just focus one first, and if you are interested to learn others, yeah, you can always um, learn it by yourself or join another study group for React. Yeah. All right. Let's go further with the component. All right. So I talk a lot about component, but what is component? Component actually is consists of a template. The template here I mean is HTML and CSS, okay, plus a TypeScript file, and this TypeScript file will have a class. Normally it will have a class, so the class will have a lot of property. At the same time, you'll see a lot of method within it, okay, and plus some metadata. So the metadata here is to describe the component, okay. So um, so the component can be like a dependency injection, or to get some information about the template, or the information about the TypeScript file, things like that. It's all described under the metadata, right? So we will drill further in the next session, which is the component. Okay, so for now, you just have to know component is equivalent to a template plus a class plus some metadata to describe it. All right,
What is the template? Can you explain?
is a HTML plus CSS.
Okay, the HTML and the class is just TypeScript class .ts,
Yes.
and
So
metadata
it's
is something.
some description or some information regarding to this component.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So the template and the class are closely working with each other. So I'll show you further in next section. Yeah, you'll see that. Right. So for now, you just need to know this is the component. All right. So yeah. So Angular module. So in an Angular application, if you are working on a small application, normally you create a few components only. For example, like less than 5 or less than 10. Right. All these are manageable because in Angular, they will have a main module called the root module. So every component are packed under this module. So what is a module? If imagine if you were to develop an Angular application without a module, right? You have a lots of component. Imagine you're building a very large scale application, right? In order to categorize those components, right, it will be very hard because this component just how to say it? So the application, right, will all compile together and it will become a very big file, right? So let me show you something here, right? If you are familiar with this Chrome DevTool, so Angular will actually download the JavaScript file in the backend. If you were to compile all components under one root file, the file would be very big. All right, it's not ideal to download if your connection is not really strong. For example, the file, it could be like few megabyte from few kilobyte until the few megabyte is quite big. So if you are in the area where the signal is not that strong, so it take lots of time to load it. So in order to prevent that,
Can you
Angular,
repeat? Uh, can you repeat once again? I didn't get you. Why you are saying that the root Angular module is necessary for other components? Either they
Okay, okay.
They are running parallel or simultaneously with these components?
Okay. So I try to give you an idea what is Angular module. All right. So a module actually is to group a component together. Okay. So yeah. So a module here, right? Under the module, it will have a couple of components within it. The module here is to group the component together, and you can also create another module and park the other component under the other module. But in Angular application, right, there must be a root module. So it's an entry point for the application. Okay, now you got what I
Okay,
mean here?
so you mean to say that the root module is app module dot
Yes,
ps?
you're
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
Yes, you're
Okay.
right. Yeah. So the module here is to group component together. Okay. So you can separate the component into few modules, and at the time you want to use that feature, you will download the file from the server. So we can offload the file to become a very, very fat file. Yeah. So it will become slimmer, slimmer, slimmer. Yeah. So this is why we have a module here. Okay. That's all about the Angular and anatomy. Yeah, it might looks very confusing, but don't worry. You'll know more after you join the later section. Okay. So yeah, the editor. So there are a bunch of editor out there. There are WebStorm, Visual Studio Code, Sublime, Bracket I never heard it before. Atom by GitHub. Yeah, the favorite one. I don't know, a famous one. Visual Studio, ALM, IDE, and more. Yeah, so most of them are very famous, and most of them are quite quiet because the popularity is not there. Yeah, no one talk about it and no one use it. And yeah, I think probably WebStorm will be the famous one. Visual Studio Code, Sublime, these three are quite famous. And Visual Studio, I guess people use it to develop .NET application. But to Angular, most people are trying to use WebStorm, Visual Studio Code, and Sublime. All right. So for my preference, I prefer to use Visual Studio Code. It's not because it is created by Microsoft, but it can run in Linux, Windows, and Mac. Okay, and also it has a lot of feature that support TypeScript. So it's not on limit to TypeScript, but to Angular as well. Okay, let me show you something here. So if you open up a Visual Studio Code, okay, let me close this one. Okay, if you look at the extension here, you can search a lot of things like Angular language services. It will help you to autocomplete when you typing in the HTML file. Okay, some of the package, like some of the tools, right? TypeScript snippet. Okay, you can type some shortcut and press the tab, and it will help you to generate the Angular script. And yeah, there are lots of things you can play around with the Visual Studio Code, and it is very powerful. Okay, let's come back here. So it supports the TypeScript and as well as the auto completion. If you type something like halfway, you're able to complete it. And it has some IntelliSense. The IntelliSense will know ahead what you're going to type, and will show you the suggestion so that you can choose from it. And also some syntax checking. If let's say you're typing something wrong, because Angular are quite sensitive with the case, and you're typing something wrong, they'll show the error line right below the syntax. And you can do refactoring easily using Visual Studio Code. Right, like extract this bunch of code and put it into a method, or change this variable into a property, things like that. Okay, and yeah, this is my preference. I attached the link here. You can download over there, but you're always welcome to use other editor as well if you are comfortable with another editor. All right. So yeah, to set up an Angular. Yep. Before I show you how to install the Angular CLI, so let me show you some command here. So to start Angular, we need to install this Angular CLI. CLI stands for a command line interface. It's a tool just like a .NET Core, .NET CLI. Okay, you can use it to generate a new application. Okay, by typing the ng, or you can generate some template like component, a module, a service, a pipe. I think you know later. Yeah, so on and so forth. You can help it to generate all the component that you need to use in the Angular application. Okay, the ng serve here to start the Angular application, and you can run and debug it locally. All right. So ng test is to run the E2E testing and also the unit testing if you have write and more. Okay. Yeah, and it is a powerful tool, and there are lots of features within it. If you are going to explore it, right, you'll find lots of excitement, I believe. Yeah. So, and today I'm going to cover two only, ng-new and ng-serve. Why am I not going to cover the ng-generate? Because ng-generate quite how to say, depends on the use case. If you are going to use a component, right, ng-generate component, the command will be different. So if I were to tell you everything right now, you might be very confused. So today I'm going to show you this two only. I will leave the ng-generate to the session later when they talk about the component. So they're going to show you how to generate a component using a CLI, or if they're going to show you how to write a routing, and they'll tell you how to generate a routing via the ng-generate. All right. And yeah, demo time. So come back here. Okay, Angular CLI. So probably you don't have an Angular CLI in here. Okay. To install Angular CLI, okay, let me close this one. Okay. In this Visual Studio Code, there is a terminal feature built in. So you can go to View and click Terminal. It'll show you a terminal here. All right. So before I use the terminal here, you need to install a Node.js. So you can always go install the Node.js here, Node.js.org. Yeah, this is important because we need to use the npm. npm, I'm going to talk about this later, right? So the version you can tag, right, is this 12.18.4, the LTS version. But if you want to try the latest feature, you can always take the current one. Yeah, both will work. Okay, just install this, either one of it. And after you install it, you probably need to restart your computer. And yep, I have the npm installed here. So how do you know your npm is working in your computer? You can always type npm --version. It'll show you the version. All right. And when they show you the version, that means you have the npm installed in your laptop or your computer. All right. So yeah, to install the Angular CLI, we have to install it via the npm. Okay. So the command that we can use here, let me show you. You need to go to, okay, You come here, you type the Angular CLI. They'll show you a page called Angular CLI. Okay, there'll be a command here. All right, just copy this one. Okay, and go to your Visual Studio Code, and in your terminal, you paste it and run it. And it will help you to install the latest Angular CLI. All right, so look at the keyword here, -G. -G means global. It's not tied to the project that you are doing, but you install to your global laptop. So in every project, they can access to this CLI, right? So it probably going to take some time, but it'll be like very quick if your connection is strong. Yeah, I think it's done. So yeah, let me clear this. Okay. Okay. So yep. The next thing, how do we know about the Angular CLI is installed? Right. Let me try. You can always run ng -- version. So you'll see an Angular logo print out here. Yeah. And the version here. So the version here is equivalent to Angular version. So the version that I have now is 10.1.4. That means you're using Angular 10.1.4, right? So the packages that we have right here, they'll show the version as well. Okay. So, but ignore that because we are not going to do anything with these packages. All right. Okay. In order to create a new project, you need to select the folder that you want to create. All right. Let me go to okay, GitHub. Okay. So I would like to select this folder to be to create my project here. All right. So from after you select the folder that you want to create, so you can type ng new and then your application name. So the application name here, you cannot have space. All will be in a small letter. Okay, you can separate the word maybe by dash. Okay, for example here, Angular study group. Okay, if you join all the word together, right, probably you look at it very ugly and it doesn't support a capital letter. So if you put capital letter there, they'll help you to convert a small letter. And yeah, so that's why they encourage you to use a dash instead of putting a capital letter here. Okay, so click enter. They'll ask you a few questions. Would you like to add Angular routing? Normally I will say yes because we need that. And also they ask you the format of style sheet that you want to use. And there are lots of it, but to you, right, I would encourage you to choose the CSS for now. And if you want to advance to the next level, you can probably choose the SCSS. And I think less is already outdated and SAS is replaced by the SCSS. So yeah, for now, I choose the CSS first, right? Because this is something, yeah, the project is already created. Okay, it's okay. I change to, okay. Just tell the name is not valid. Groups, okay, yeah. Okay. Normally they'll create a lot of boilerplate here. You'll see what are the file created here. Okay. And also after they created the boilerplate, they'll help you to install the packages. I'll show you what is a packages here later. Okay. So let's wait for the package to be installed. Yeah, take maybe like one 1 or 2 minutes. Yeah, and it's done. All right. So how to open your project in Visual Studio Code? There's a command called code. Okay, and select the path. So just now I created the Angular study groups with S. Okay, and then -R is reload the current editor. So I just have to enter like this, and it help me to refresh the page and open up the folder. So see the project that I created just now, it showed up here. Okay, let me close this one. Can I move? Ah, yeah. Okay, I put here. Okay, so yeah, this is my Angular project. Okay, in this Angular project, um, I probably need to brief you about the structure here. Okay, from this file until this file are setting files to tell the Angular application how to build this project and what are the things needed, things like that. Okay, if you want to go a little bit details here, so the tsconfig.json, this is the TypeScript configuration I mentioned to you last session, and all this file, right, is to tell the TypeScript how are we going to compile and transpile the TypeScript into JavaScript, and all the settings are stored here. If you see here, right, there are 3 files, but don't worry. Last time they only have 1 file, and because the setting, right, keep growing bigger and bigger, and they decided to split it into few files. If you look at the tsconfig.json, I think there should be a one who link each other together. No. So if you look at this 3 file, right, they actually link with each other. Okay, when they build at the time, right, they'll link these 3 together. So if you change something here, right, they'll compile into one file called tsconfig.json, and they're based on your configuration to transfer the TypeScript to JavaScript. But don't worry, all these are handled by Angular, so you don't need to look at this configuration unless you are required. All right, so the TS link. TS link is something very powerful, and it helps you to monitor your code quality. Okay, if all these rules here are pre-configured by the Angular team, and it is recommended by them. Normally, we don't change anything here, but let me show you what it is. Okay, so give you an example. If you go to any component, okay, there's a rules, right? The selector here cannot have a capital letter. So if I were to change a capital letter here, and I save it, so okay, if I were to build it and you build, they'll show me an error about this. Why it's not showing? I think I need to take another example. Yeah. I think I need to find another example to show you. It's not there. Quotation. single. Okay, if I were to put, okay, if I were to change this into double quotation, are we seeing error here? Problem? I don't know why it is not working, but normally this TS link here will monitor your source code. So if your source code right is not compliant to the rules here, they'll give you some error or warning. Yeah, I think I think I will show you. I'll send you an article about this later on. Yeah, but this is not important because all this while we never set about this set the rules here unless it is required. Normally, if you were to hire a group of developer and you want them to follow only one rules, then this file is very important. If you were to do it alone, I think it should be fine. You just use the default one, it will do. Okay, so the README file will tell you what are the things to set up in order to run the Angular, your project, and you can write more information here. So in Visual Studio Code, you can preview the output right here. Whatever you change here, you can straight away see the preview. Okay, MD file here. Okay, let me tell you what is MD file. Okay, MD file is actually created by someone and adopted by GitHub. So if you were to go to any your repository, so the README file probably will be the information right here. Okay, if you write something in the README, GitHub will automatically show the README information right below the repository. So from here, you can follow the instruction to set up your application, right? It's a good practice to have this file, okay? And the next thing would be the packages.json. I'll show you later about this, okay? The Karma. Karma is a unit testing to test all your function within your source code if you write it. Otherwise, I think you won't be able to use this file. The Angular JSON here is the Angular setting, right? So here, in this file, so we have the Angular setting here, and from here, right, we know we have one project, the project name called the Angular Study Groups. Okay, and this project is the Angular Study Group, and we can put a lot of information right here, like what the project type. It could be a library or application, and the architecture, how you want to define it, but normally it will be a default one. And sometimes you need to change something like the asset here and the style so that you compile into your application. Yeah, and I won't go through here. I won't go through this file here because it's gonna be very lengthy. I just tell you, this is the Angular setting. Okay, and the editor config is for the Visual Studio Code, and the browser list is to check what are the browser this application going to support. Okay, so yeah, normally these things are not really important to develop a website unless you really build a very large scale application. Yeah, so these are the config file, and the distributed folder here is the output of the application, is the build application. So after you run the ng build, all the source code will be transpiled and put it here, the distributed folder. So you just have to copy this folder here and put it into your web server and it will run. Okay. The E2E here is end-to-end testing. If you write any end-to-end testing, then you have to do it here. Okay. The node module file is the third-party library. If you see here, there'll be a lot. So all the third-party library will be put under the node module folder. Okay, I'll talk more about it later. And the src here is the source file. All your code will be sitting under this folder. Okay. So the entry file will be the index.html. And the first file that it gonna run will be the main.ts. Okay. How do I know the main.ts is the first file to run? Because it is written under the angular.json. Look at here. Okay. So if you want to change, right, normally you can change it here and point to another file, but I don't encourage you to do so. Okay. So yep. So under the main.ts, you'll see they're going to bootstrap a module. So the module here will be the app.module. This will be our root module. Okay, where is this file from? If you look at here, it is pointing to the folder called app, then under app.module. Okay, so will be under here. So this file is where we start our application, and you'll see some import here. Import is to import another module to use under this module. And there'll be an export also, but it is didn't written here. And some of the function we'll go through it afterward. I just try to like give you a round of demo, a tour, how is the Angular application is like. And also, yeah, the next thing, Angular component. So these two are the template file, angular.component.css and the angular.component.html. Okay, and the spec file here is to write a unit testing to test your application. Okay, if you are not familiar with it, actually I'm not familiar with it as well. So yeah, so this is a unit testing file, and the component file, as I told you before, is a TypeScript file, and you have one class here, and this will be the class name. Okay, and you can write lots of property. Shouldn't do so. So you can write lots of property. Maybe name John. Okay, this will be a property and some method, maybe get name. Okay, it's equal to, if you use arrow function, return this not name. All right, so you have a lots of method here. Okay, so all these things, right, are accessible in the HTML because they are linked together. Okay, but we are going to discuss with you in the next session more about the component. Okay, so and of course this thing here is the metadata of the Angular component. They are going to describe the selector. So the selector here is app-root. Okay, and it is pointing to the HTML file here. It's app.component.html. So it is pointing to the file here, and the CSS is pointing to the app.component.css, and this is the metadata file. Okay, so there'll be more property here, but yeah, we should cover it in the component session. All right, so yep, you have one app module and one component by default, generated by default, and run routing. Routing normally will do some routing here. It's an object, then you have to type the path is what, and the component name and the child, things like that. So this is the routing, all defined under this variable. Okay, and yeah, this is it. Okay, so how to run the Angular? Okay, after I give you the tool here, right, let's run this application we just generated. Okay, terminal. Okay, to run it, we just have to type ng serve and press enter. So you'll see a lot of code being generated. And yep, to run it, because you'll see there's a link right here. Okay, you can click on it and it showed up. And this is the page, Angular page, and I show you welcome. And Angular study group app is running, and some information here. And the ng generate command is here too. You see, they are quite thoughtful. Okay, and yeah, so how to identify whether this application is the one I'm generating? Yeah, let me change something here. Okay, let me pull it down. Okay, under the welcome Angular study group. Okay, the welcome here is a title here. So I change it right now and I just save it only. Okay, this ng-serve, right, will watch your file and recompile upon yourself. Okay, and after it is compiled successfully, if you go back to your site, right, you see it is automatically loaded. Okay, this is ng-serve. So ng-serve will have this kind of behavior. They'll watch your file, and whatever file you just edited and saved, they'll reload the page here, and they'll recompile and reload the page here. All right. So yeah, that's basically about this Angular demo. Okay. Before I proceed to the next one, any question first? Check. Yeah, I think everyone is helping me. All right. Thanks, guys. Yeah, I think there's one question that W Ching is asking. Using app root as selector will be picked up by oh yeah, you're right. Sorry about that. It should be ng link. It's not ng build. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thanks, guys. All right. So yeah, I shall proceed to the next if you don't have any question. Okay. Okay. The NPN. I think before we start Angular, I need to explain to you what is NPN. This is quite important because we use it all the time, okay, to manage our packages. Right, NPN is stand for Node Package Manager. It is the world's largest software registry. There are lots of third-party library. Angular is also hosted there. Okay. At the same time, it will help you to manage your third-party library in your project as well. And last but not least, it is free. Yeah, you don't need to pay anything. I think this is the best thing that we have in our world. Yeah. So to help you to understand NPN, right? So just now I showed you before, we have, let me clear this thing. I think we have to close this one. You can press Ctrl C to stop you watching your file. Okay. Let me clear this one. Okay. I'll be using this project as well as a demo. Okay. To help you to understand this, packages.json will always be sitting under the root folder. Okay. So in this root folder, you'll see a lots of things here. So I'm going to go through one by one with you. And also, so once you have the npm install, okay, and we're gonna use a lot of npm command here. Okay, so npm is a must for Angular. So let me go through one by one. So first of all, if you look at the packages.json, this is the file that npm is using. They all will be referring to this config file. So you'll see there will be a name property. So the name can be any, but there will be no space or in small letter. And yeah, I think should be it. Should be it. Okay, normally if you generate the Angular application, they use the folder name, the project name as the name here as well. This is not really important because it will not show up anywhere. Okay, just to put a name here to tell them, and yeah, this is the project name that we have here. And the next thing, the versioning. So they are using the SAM symmetric versioning. So you have the major, the first letter will be major, minor, and the revision, the third one. So it depends, it's totally up to you how you want to version your application. Yeah, if you want to change the versioning, you'll be changing here. Okay, so currently the version that I have is version 0. If I were to further enhance this project, right? So we'll keep adding the number here. It could be 1, 2, or 3, and yep. So this is the two thing here. Okay. So the next thing I'm gonna show you is the script. The script is right here. Okay, what is the script here? So you can actually predefine some script and putting under the package.json. Okay, for example, the start here, and there'll be some command at the value area. So if you type the start here, right, you'll run this command. Okay, at the same time, if you type build, they'll run this command. Okay, so let me show you. Right, the ng probably you can run. Okay, probably you ignore this one first. Let's start with this. Okay, just now I show you in order to run the Angular application, we type ng serve. But if you want to use the npm, right, normally you can use this npm run script start. Okay, then it'll run your application because the start here will actually run the command that you define here. Okay, same go to other script. So if you build run script build, okay, then you run this build command. So let us try one time. See, if you run this, then you run automatically run the script here, then you'll build. Okay. Okay, and it's done. And yeah, and there are people says that npm run script is too lengthy. Yeah, sometimes people are quite lazy, right? And they're trying to seek for improvement. So they shorten the command here called npm run, and then you can put the script name. Okay, for example, the ng, npm test. Okay, then you're still doing the same thing. So npm run script, then the script name, and the npm run, and then the script name, they are the same thing. Okay. Okay, this is the testing, right? Okay, let me terminate it. Okay, so but there's one command which is quite special. That is the start here. So compared to other script name, you need to use npm run with the name or npm run script with the name. But for this npm start, right, you can straight away use npm start without writing the run and the run script. Only for this command. The rest you have to write npm run, then the script name. Okay, you see? Yeah, it'll work only for the npm start. All right. So yeah, I'm going to terminate it. I'm not going to run it. So come back to my slide. So to npm start, you can probably use this without the run and the run script. Okay, but for the rest of the command, you need to put npm run and the script name. Okay, you can see the example right below. Okay, and then we are done with the script. Okay, the next thing is the dependency. Okay, so dependency is where we link the third-party library from the npm registry. Okay, so give you some example. So let's come to the bottom. Okay, here, and dependency. Okay, so dependency is the third-party library that it will use during the runtime, during the application runtime, which means after we build this application, they're going to include those library in this dependency into the JavaScript. Okay, and then you can use it to run in the browser and to do something in the browser. Okay, so by default, there'll be a list of dependency generated, and those are the, I think it's a default dependency to the Angular project. So do remove anything here because they are crucial. So you need this in order to run the Angular project. So don't remove anything here. Okay, so you might be wondering how can we use the third-party library from the npm registry, for example. So let me show you how. You come here, normally you type npm. Okay, you'll come to this page. Okay, from here you can search the packages. For example, the package that I want to use maybe Bootstrap. Okay, it's the most popular CSS in the world. Okay, so you search it and they'll show you the Bootstrap here. Okay, maybe there'll be some very useful information right here, right at the bottom. But the most important thing that we are interested in is this command. Okay, find this command. You can click on the small icon here to copy it. Okay, it's copied. And then you just have to paste it here. Okay, so the command will be the npm I stand for install. You can either type the full word called install or the shortcut called I, and then the package name. So the package name must match the one in the registry here. Okay, that's one. Okay, so yeah, after you come here, you just have to press enter. It will help you to install the Bootstrap library. And then after it is done, sorry, let me close this one. Don't save first, then we open up again. So you see an entry right here, see? Okay. So right now we have a dependency to Bootstrap and we're gonna use Bootstrap in our component. Okay. So when you run this thing called the ng build, it will help you to include this Bootstrap library into the output file. So you just have to type the ng build under the distributed file here. They'll put the CSS within, I think there should be a style file. Yeah, it will be right here. Okay. So it's all automatically and we don't need to configure anything. Okay. So yeah, this is our dependency. Okay. So this will be the package name. At the end will be the version. Okay, you might see this symbol here. I actually don't understand. Don't really understand what are the symbol, but it represents something because, for example, if you put this right, you can only use, I think, you can only update, I think, only the last digit. Okay, I'm not sure about this, but to this right, you only can update until this digit. Maybe if they are the newest version, maybe core 10, if you use the npm update, they help you to update to version 10, things like that. But I'm not really confirmed about this because I seldom use this. All right. Okay, this is the dependency here. Okay. So yeah, the next
I
thing
think
will be,
that the tilde is basically equivalent to version. It means it will update you to all the future patch versions without increasing the minor versions. So it's like 1.2.3 or less than. But that great less than other sound, that triangular one, that is basically compatible with version. It will update you to all minor patch versions. So that's the difference between the two.
yeah, thank you, Priyanka. Yeah. Okay. All right. So the next thing will be, okay, let's go to the next one, is the def dependency. Okay, just now we have a dependency and this one is def dependency. Okay, compared to a dependency, dependency is the one is a third-party library that you need during the runtime. Okay, but the def dependency is the third-party library that you need during the development time. So all the package that you download within the def dependency, okay, will not be included in the output file. Okay, you only need it within the development time. After the development time, you can for the output file, they won't include this dependency into it because you won't be able to use it in you don't want to use it in the runtime. Okay, for example here, if you look at the TypeScript at the last one, so the TypeScript will help you to compile TypeScript into JavaScript. So after the code converted into JavaScript, you probably don't want the TypeScript anymore. So we don't need to include this TypeScript third-party library into the distributed file, right? So to install this def dependency, it is similar with the dependency command, just that we have to add another flag at the back called --save -dev. Okay, so it's npm install package name, and then we have the save dev tag. Okay, so yep, that's so the one I can show you is the Cypress. Cypress is a E2E testing tools. It's similar to Karma. If you don't want to use Karma, right, you can always use the Cypress to do the testing. So in order to install Cypress, you need to use this command, npm install cypress save dev. Then you install it into a dev dependency, and then you can run the Cypress command to do the testing. All right. Okay. So yeah, dependency is used is to save the package required for the application to run. So dependency are the third-party library that required in the runtime. So the dev dependency is required during the development time. Okay. So yeah, where do the packages go? So if you are sharp enough, after I run the npm install, or they will create one folder called not module. So this is where all the third-party library will go to. So just now I install Bootstrap, right? So you see a Bootstrap library probably will be here. Yep, here, see? Okay, but the problem with this folder is that this folder is very big, okay? Normally when we try to check in our commit our code into the repository, we tend to ignore this folder because with this packages.json, we can always reinstall all the library into this folder again. So normally we wouldn't commit this folder into our repository. And if you click on the git ignore file, you'll see the node module file will be ignored here. All right. So yeah, we are not going to cover the git here. So yeah, so I'm not going to explain further about this file. Okay. So one last thing is that, so sometimes if you go to clone the repo from GitHub, right, you'll see the node module folder is not there, and your application won't be able to run because all the files not there. So if you see the node module is not there, right, but no, don't worry, you can always run this command, the npm install, to reinstall all the third-party library in your folder. So yep, let me show you. So if let's say this one is delete, okay, the node module folder is not there. Don't worry, just run npm install or npm I. They're able to reinstall everything into the node module folder again. Yeah, it takes some time because there are lots of things to install. Okay, so the installation is based on the dependency and the def dependency here. They install everything under the node module folder. So this file is very important. Yep, it's done. Okay. So yeah, that's all about today's section. Okay, to recap, I have by attending this course, you probably know about the Angular history and what is AngularJS and versus Angular, and the anatomy of Angular application. So yeah, anatomy is about Angular application will consist of a lots of components, and all the components are communicated via the services, and the module is used to group the component. Okay, those are the anatomy. And Visual Studio Code is my preference editor. If you want to use Sublime, you want to use Visual Studio, yeah, you are more than welcome to use it, right? And how to set up a new Angular application, I show you how to run the ng new command and how to run the ng-serve, okay? And also the ng-build. ng-build is to build the Angular application, okay? And I also show you how to use the npm command in Angular. So in the next coming lesson, I think we'll touch a lot of on the npm. So yep, that's basically about this Angular today. The homework is quite simple. Just now whatever I have show you, you just have to do it one more time so that you are familiar with setting up Angular. Because if you are working with a project-based Angular, you probably need to run it lots of time in the future. So familiar with yourself with Angular. Okay, so install the Visual Studio Code, install Node.js, and yeah, create new Angular project, things like that. Okay, and also try to run some npm command. And yeah, I think that's all for today. Any question? Yeah. So I think thanks, Mindy. Yep. Okay.